Welcome back, everybody, to another podcast of Lost Legion. I'm your host, JR, and I'm here with Jose and Daniel. What's going on, guys?
Yo,
Hey.
yo.
So today, I figured we'd talk about a couple things. Definitely want to talk about Shatterpoint, how the Bounty Hunter Tournament is going. And then me and Jose, we could talk about our games. And then we got a new segment called Strat Segment, where we talk about lists that we built and how you would want to operate them. Because there's a lot of different builds you can do with the lists, and they operate very differently than your typical like gunline or force user list. So let's get to it, guys. All right, did you guys get a chance to check out the Shatterpoint article?
No, I'm late to all the Shatterpoint news.
What about you, Daniel?
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at it.
Oh, well, I'm actually excited. Kind of excited. I'm kind of like, what? Okay, so this is what drops. So they pretty much telling you how the gameplay is going to work. There's 5 range tools, 2 movement tools. So no third movement tool. And
What's the
then,
map size?
I
5
think
range tool seems a lot.
I want to say it's a 3x3.
So the range tool is going to be like Legion, where it's like each range tool is like 6 inches, or like I'm kind of confused.
Well, it shows that's a good. That's a very good question. It's only giving us the pictures of the movement tools and the range tools. It seems like the movement tools, one of them's speed 1, and then another one's speed 2. And then the range ones are one like really small one. Like if you ever played MCP, they look just like that, but unique to this game in the sense of like design. So there's one that's really small that's probably the melee one where you can reach. And then there's one that has a blaster on it that's shooting, which might be the default blaster for that one.
Mm.
The range 5 one though looks the same size as the range 4, but it's like an arc. So maybe you pull it out. I don't know. Oh, I guess I could read it to you guys. The game uses 5 range. Oh, you're just guessing.
He's just like, the article's right there in front of him.
The game uses 5 range tools for measuring things like abilities and attacks. 4 range tools, number 2 through 5, and a shovel tool, range 1. Range tool. Range 1 abilities can be measured using the short end of the range tools or either end of the shovel tool. Movement and shatter uses 2 movement tools. The long movement tool is used when a character makes an advance, while the short movement tool is used for a number of different movements like dashing and jumping and climbing. Which is interesting because I heard of dashing in the special operations. The use of these tools means that the measuring anything in the game is fast and easy. Okay. Like the vast majority of the tabletop game, Shatterpoint uses dice to determine the outcome of various actions. Well, we know that part. So what's also interesting about this article is it lists the actions you can do by default. So just like Legion, you can only take 2 actions, and these are the actions you can take. Move. Each character in the unit may advance, dash, or climb. Focus. The next attack made by each character in the unit. This activation adds 1 die to its attack roll.
It's like an aim.
Yeah. Combat. Each character in the unit may make an attack. And then ability. The unit may use an ability that requires the use of an action. Now here's where it gets interesting. Recover. Each character in the unit may heal. When a character heals, it removes 1 condition or 1 damage from itself or another allied character within range 2 of it. So pretty much everyone's got their own little medic going on. Yeah, it's kind of okay. Take cover. Each character in the unit is pushed and gains a hunker token which improves its defense against range attacks.
Pseudo dodge.
Essentially. But what's interesting, it says is pushed. Like, not sure what that means.
Or maybe like it's a strenuous action, some kind of negative status effect.
Perhaps. Yeah, because you get a
Have they done a like a live play yet, or are they saving that for like a Adepticon or something?
They just did a play, what was it, today or yesterday?
Of Shatterpoint? I know they did Spec Ops.
Yeah, they did.
No, they
spec-
did Shatterpoint. It
Honestly,
wasn't
I
it
had
wasn't
no
a full
clue.
play. It was just like a couple minutes of play.
Oh,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah, I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
check that out
I
too.
had no clue, dude.
I heard that the one thing I heard from that was that the way that you activate units was interesting because it's like a deck of cards where you have the cards for each unit, and then you have a Shatterpoint card, which is like a wild. And so then you shuffle that deck, and then that's how you're activating units. You just activate whatever the top card is.
Which
And
When
so
you get
there's,
that wild, you get to pick whoever.
I think so. It wasn't super clear to me, but that's
it's
the vibe I got.
it's in the article.
Gotcha.
I can read to you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's super interesting and
Jared's like, shut up, I'm trying to read.
no, that's helpful that they actually play gameplay because I wanted to see it in action.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
did a couple minutes of it.
So yeah, so those are the standard actions you can take. The only one that's really stood out to me was recover, because all the ones like take covers, dodge, focus, and aim, but essentially they're not, but they are. And then of course it says here that many characters have unique abilities that can use during play. So obviously that's a different time. So this is what Daniel was talking about. At the start of each player's turn, they draw the top card of their order deck. The card drawn determines which unit the player can activate that turn. The greatest commanders in the Shatterpoint will be the one who learns to adapt quickly to the chaos of battle and make the most of what fate gives them to work with. However, not everything is completely out of the player's control. Each player has the option to place a just drawn card in reserve for a cost. If a player chooses to place their drawn order card in reserve, they immediately draw the next order card from the top of their deck and must activate that unit instead. On future turns, a player with a card in reserve may choose to activate that unit instead of drawing the top card of their order deck. The player may only ever have one card in reserve at a time. So players must choose wisely and use this ability. In addition to the reserve mechanic, players also each have an extremely powerful Shatterpoint card. The Shatterpoint card acts like a wild card, allowing players to activate the unit of their choice, even a unit that has already activated with its own order card.
Oh, that's nice.
At the end of a player's turn, if they have no order cards left in their order deck or reserve, they refresh their order deck by removing any order cards from defeating units and then shuffle the remaining cards from the order discard pile together to form a new order deck, rounding out part one of our gameplay. Oh, they're just telling me. What do you guys think of that?
That's a similar deck mechanic that they use in Heroes of the Grid. So in Heroes of the Grid, whatever character you have has their own deck, and the deck doubles as like their triples. Actually, it's their abilities, their defense, and their hit points. So when your deck is completely gone from using it throughout the game, you're considered defeated, and then you reshuffle everything back into your deck, and you start with a fresh deck. So it's kind of similar to that, but you don't die obviously from your deck going empty. But I like that. I like cards. I'm a fan of cards. I just really hope this doesn't get to the level of cards like like Legion.
For me, it's a little bit too random. I'm not a huge fan of just like when you flip, you have to do it because that's like the equivalent of in Legion if every unit had their own unique token and you put them all in a bag and you couldn't give out orders. I wouldn't be a fan of that, and I'm not a huge fan of this mechanic here. I think it might work better if it's a more casual game, and then if everything's like kind of in range of each other anyways. I'll be interested to see like what unit abilities are and stuff because
Yep.
I think that's going to really affect this mechanic. And
Mhm.
but if nobody can do anything to mitigate this, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because MCP, you could choose whoever to go, right?
Right.
And they're doing the opposite in this game where it's in a deck and you have to shuffle and everything. I thought it was interesting. I definitely think it adds to that randomness, but I mean, how much more random can you get when you also have when you're throwing dice, you know?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, that would just be my concern is I want to make choices. So if the deck is making another choice for me, I'm not super thrilled with that. But you know,
there has to be something to it regarding like abilities and like how you set up the table, how we have the red, blue, green, and Legion. There's gonna be something because if I'm not saying they are gonna make this like into like another competitive game like Armada and X-Wing and all that, but if they do, there has to be something that's gonna make that the deck like less of a randomness and lean more
right.
towards your play style. So I would just wait to see what happens.
That's what I'm kind of doing, is I just want to wait to see some unit cards, because I'm assuming that there will be like, commanders will have some ability of like, oh, Rex, when you draw his card, instead you could go with clone troopers if you want, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, oh, okay, so there's some synergies and stuff that you could build to mitigate the randomness. That's all I'm looking for.
Which makes sense because if we're building a squad, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, you don't want to mix up too much because they don't synergize well. And I can
Right.
totally see that. Another thing they revealed is they revealed Anakin. It looks like
Ooh.
he only has 7 SP, whereas Ahsoka has 8. And then that symbol that we talked about last episode, I believe, that like force symbol, that or whatever that symbol was, is the force symbol.
Mhm.
So in this article, Anakin has 4, and what happens is, says at the start of a game, players determine the will of the force by adding force tokens to their force pool, equal to the combined total of all force stats on their strike team's unit stat cards. Typically, only primary units have a force stat, so most often a strike team's force pool will be equal to the combined force stats of its 2 primary units. So just like what you guys were talking about, my theory is that these force tokens you get are going to be to manipulate the deck.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my fun theory because they did comment on somebody in the Star Wars Legion or the Atomic Star Wars Shatterpoint page
Mhm.
that everybody's gonna have force points, even if they're not a force user. So like Grievous is gonna have force stats, Han Solo is gonna have force stats. It's not just unique to force users.
Okay. That's interesting.
It is interesting, yeah. They also showed one ability of Anakin's, and kind of lame that the one that showed they showed a force jump.
Yep.
It's like, yeah,
And-
no figure. Yeah, so pretty much it says each character in this unit may jump, or I'm assuming a jump. It's an icon that looks like a jump. All right, what do you guys think as far as like raising your hypeness to like, I don't know if I'm gonna get it.
This for me is just kind of held it neutral. I had heard the stuff about the order stuff, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But I mean, yeah, the unit stuff, the units look really cool, and I think the game's going to be more casual. At least maybe the way that I play it is going to be more casual. So I'm not like completely turned off of it, and I want to just kind of see what some of the units are, and yeah.
What about you, Jose?
I'm gonna look at it from like, don't get me wrong, Legion is a sweaty competitive game. So I would not mind one bit this being like your casual game. Like there's times I get off work on a Saturday, it's Legion night, and there's no way I'm gonna make it to the shot at 9, get a game kicked off and finish it by 12. This
Mhm.
gives opportunity for people who get there late, who just want to chill and throw dice. Hey, let's play some Shatterpoint. 1, 2 games of Shatterpoint. It's still Star Wars, and then with our local gaming scene, like the way we do it is like we'll be playing games and then we'll be yelling across the room, "Hey, what's this rule?" And we all banter back and forth. It's the same thing. Like we could be playing Shatterpoint, getting having fun, and then later on when other people don't have time to play Legion, we've already played Shatterpoint, so we could help them with things. And like I said, if it's as just a casual late night, chill game, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I mean, it gives us a break from the grinding that we do with Legion.
Yeah, I agree with you. My hype is still up there because like I love Star Wars in general. So this is be another fun Star Wars game to get into. And I'm kind of okay with it being meant for casual playing because Legion's our focused tournament one, and this one could just be like throw it out there, have some fun. Like that's my take on it. And I'm pretty sure someone's gonna try to make it competitive, but like, and I'm sure there is some aspect of competitive to it. But from what I hear from MCP, is like it's hard to do like tournaments with MCP because it's so chaotic, and that's what this game seems like. It's going to be a lot of chaos and just have fun. Who's going to swing first, Maul or Anakin? You don't know. So yeah, so that's our cover for Shatterpoint. I'm still hyped for it. We'll see what happens. So moving on, we got our War of the Bounty Hunters tournament going on, and Jose, man, how'd your game go?
I got my butt kicked.
Who'd you face?
So I went up against Nick. So me and Nick, we've played each other at a lot of events. For some reason, the guy just has my number. a lot of our games come down to the wire, and it's usually him doing that last minute like push to send it over the edge. So when I drew him for the event, I knew I was in for like this is gonna be weird. And I my plan backfired turn zero. So we ended up playing bombing run, disarray, and clear conditions. Um, so a little bit about like my deck is I'm a fan of putting disarray in my deck simply because I use it as a free pass. Most players who see disarray, especially if it's in the first or second row, they don't want to play disarray because either A, they don't have an army built for disarray, or B, they really don't want to walk around the table. So when I put it in my deck as in cool, if it's in the first two, I don't gotta worry because they're gonna pass. That's essentially that's my pass because I would pass it. They're gonna pass it. That's my pass. Nick had other plans. Nick decided to play disarray and keep bombing run and keep clear conditions. So right off the bat, I was like thrown for a loop. So we get to deploying, and I had two lats and I had the Mandos. I split deployed them. I put lat number one and Boba on the top right on his end, the corner on his side. And then across from there, he had placed one veteran and the MK. And I'm like, cool. I'm gonna just drop the bomb, blow them up. Boba's gonna pop out, murder them, and then sprint all the way across the map to get involved with whatever's going on over there. I then put the rest of my army in my close quarters section to force Nick into the spot opposite to me. And in that section, he had a speeder with the bomb, Luke Skywalker versus speed with the bomb, and Mando with the bomb. So my thinking was I had the right plan. I had the bad execution. Uh, my plan was to fake everything to that side that Nick was concentrated in, but I was gonna dip out to the right and go to the corner that Boba had dropped the bomb off that first round. Yeah, when you got speed 3 units, that's just not happening. So we started getting some rounds off. Karen took 3 wounds in round one. So what I ended up doing was I shoved the lat with Mando up, and I backed Karen's happy butt in base contact with the lat. So when Mando got spit out of the lat, Karen went right back up, and I was able to run away with my bounty, essentially blocking him from getting it.
Fun fact, I learned this game with Toby. To embark, you'd make a standard move, and then you go into the transport unit. You spend 2 actions to do that, but you could speed 2 move into it and then get into it. You don't have to be in base contact. I found that out in my game with Toby.
I was just worried about getting her up and out because I was like, if I deny him his bounty, I'm good. And so off into the night I went. I misplayed. What I should have did looking at the game, so my bomb carriers are my 2 lats and 1 stormtrooper because I was so stuck on putting my Mandos in the lat. Hindsight, what I should have did was I should have put Karen in the lat and I should have put Mando on the ground and give Mando the bomb and let Mando sprint 3 to the right side corner to drop his bomb off since there was less force right there. Because the way round one ended was I completely forgot Nick had the speeder, the land speeder, and the land speeder just like popped a wheelie, jumped on the terrain, unloaded the bomb, and blew everything up. So we were tied at the end of round one, 1-1. And then we go into round 2, and me and him both play Mando's 1-pip. He was trying to get Mando into my and locked into my bubble so he could drop the bomb and do what he has to do. And I was trying to get my Mando to tackle him out. So this is where it gets really annoying. So I put opening. So first round, I forgot to mention. First round, Mando eats 3 crit. Nick's Mando eats 3 crits from my lat, blocks all 3 natty.
Of course.
My Mando gets spit out, puts 3 crits on his Mando. Mando natty blocks it all.
Of course.
So 6 crits, walks right into my lines, no problem. Opening round, my Mando eats 3 off the bat. No natty blocks.
Are you guys sharing dice?
No.
Oh,
So
Nick's got that salted dice.
so after he casually like shoots my Mando, he just walks off. Him and Grogu walk off and tie up my other units. So I'm like, hell no. So I jump my Mando over there, try to tie him up again, and once again I hit I think 4, all blocks again. I'm like, what is going on here? So we're mosh pitting in that corner. My lat just got done running around trying to come back to box everything in. Next thing you know, more hecticness breaks out. I've shoved my lat right towards his lines, unload my bomb, get my bomb off. He blows Mando's bomb up, killing Mando in the process, eliminating my bounty. Okay. Then Luke is kind of dancing back and forth because where he has Luke at, Luke is kind of wrestling with, do I dive in the middle? Because he has 2 lats breathing down his neck now after both bombs had went off. My one stormtrooper with the bomb is kind of just trying to like stay alive as long as he can, while the whole time I'm trying to blitz Boba from the right side to try to do something. Things are going bad already. So we get to another roll off. Like our pit battle was like matched all the way through, and I kept losing priority. I think I won priority once, and it was when I didn't want to win it. So Nick's up 2-1. I tie it up 2-2. There's literally, well, by the time Luke makes it in there, it's Luke is on one wound, no dodges. He's hanging on for dear life. I finally move Boba up to try to contest with the bounty. Nick picks up my bomb. He kills my trooper. Picks up my bomb. Blows my own bomb up. So now Nick is up 3-2.
That's such a Nick move to just like for Narnia. Boom.
Yeah. So I'm thinking my wheels are turning. Like, how can I win this game? My left lat is like Tokyo drifting, trying to make a shot on Luke and can't get around to get it. At the same time, he's eating standby shots, and he's getting like natty crits. Not even crits, he's getting natty crits. My poor lat's getting obliterated. So I had to spit Karen out. I had to spit her out so she would run for the hills, you know? All chaos is ensuing, and finally it gets down to the final turn. I can reach. I'm in firing distance of Luke. Luke still has one of his bombs, so he's blown up 2 of his bombs and my bomb, and has his bomb. And I'm just thinking, like, okay, cool. He's killed stormtroopers. It's 44 points. I can win this on MOV if I can tie it somehow. And I see the little innocent Grogu token just waiting to be carried away. So I was like, okay, so here's the game plan. I know it's Speed 3 Boba. I can grab that token and make a Hail Mary shot at Luke and try to get the bounty and get Grogu, and then I'd tie it 4-4 and I'd win on MOV. Freaking Boba runs up there. Actually, he whipcords the turret, the MK2 turret, and then runs away prior turn. So as he's running, he has an angry like MK2 kind of trying to come after him. So finally, it comes down to this. We already know what's going to happen. Luke is on 1 HP, no dodge token, with a bomb. I got a full Boba coming, but I can only get in range 3 for his 2 black die. I can't take an aim. So I claim Grogu, and I take the Hail Mary shot at Luke. Sharpshooter, Luke has no cover. Let's go. I get 1 hit. Nick's like, no dodge, rolls, blocks it, natty. So the game's over. The game's over at that point. Because I have to hope that I have to hope that Luke lives once he drops this bomb, because he dropped the bomb and there was really nowhere for him to go. It was either drop the bomb and move towards the left side, which I was trying to corral him back to Boba, or just drop the bomb and he wants to die. Because if we can get this to round 6, Boba has another shot to get at Luke. Nope. Nick drops the bomb, does the Iron Man explosion, kills Luke in the process after Natty blocking. He rolls the defense dice for the bomb. He's been rolling nonstop, blocking everything. Low pools, he's blocking everything. So I'm like, okay, cool. The best case scenario, he blocks. He blocks out of his control, and I get another shot with Boba. Nope, he fails one. So Luke goes up in flames, scores another bomb, and it becomes out of reach at that point. So we just play out round 6, and I'm just kind of moping around because I was like, man, kicking dirt. So I lost 3-4, but I did kidnap Nick's Grogu, and we know how Nick feels about Grogu.
Yeah, it's that small victory for you. It's like if I don't get the win, you can't have Grogu.
Yeah, I won the battle. He won the war.
So no bounties claimed, huh?
No, he blew them all up. He had this from plan, dude.
So
you can't score bounty if they blow themselves up.
That's true. So for the battle league or the bounty hunter league, you get 0 points and he gets 3 points.
Yeah,
makes sense.
That's terrible.
Dude, that's just
he plays dirty.
Not as dirty as JR's list.
No. But I just love that Nick's like, I don't care. I want these guys to die so you don't claim the bounty. That's amazing. So yeah, we'll go on to my game. And yeah, my this is pretty dirty. Let's get into it. So
well, I think we need to start. I think you need to start by telling us how Toby felt about the matchup going into the game. And then you can start talking about how the game actually went.
So Toby had commented, Toby actually wasn't going to join the tournament because he didn't know what he wanted to run. And I think like his double bounty list that he ran for the big tournament. He didn't want to run it because he's just like, I'm bored of playing it, right? So I convinced him to play, and I said, I'll let him use my Shadow Collective stuff. So he's like, all right, I'll do it. And he got paired against me, and he was so upset. He was so mad. He was so hurt by that. He was just like, man, I'll play this game. Yeah, he was just like, we show up. He's like, all right, let's do this. Let's get this over with.
He's defeated before the card flips.
Oh, man, you should have heard him during the game. So we flip over my, okay, so this is what I noticed. And we'll see. Hopefully Roman doesn't hear this part. In all of everybody's lists, I am blue player every time besides Jose's list. That's the only time that Jose gets a side blue or red. So I'm sitting pretty nicely because I want to be blue player in all of my games. And so pretty much Toby's list, I was blue player, and Toby's running a version of
the blue player. So are you're blue player even though we have the 20 imaginary points?
Well, because those 20 cost towards my list. Like I don't get to just
so he's still like 80 set or
96.
What, 96? Yeah.
796.
So you still 96 got a couple
nets
points
you blue player?
Yeah.
And everybody went that high?
Yeah,
I did.
You're the only one.
I didn't even notice that. I thought there was gonna be somebody else. Well, then again, CIS wasn't there. CIS can take a bid.
Well,
all these other lists can't.
Even then,
Empire could take a bid.
Yeah,
not comfortably.
I feel like you don't need to take a bid, and like I think that's what everyone's going for. Like, why do we need to take a bid? Unless your list is tailored to it, you don't need to. So he's running a version of Cad Bane Bosk with the Pike Capo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pike Syndicate foot soldiers, 2 with the Disruptor soldier, 2 with the whips, and 1 naked foot soldier. Black Suns decked out in the AA5. So we did our decks and we landed on Hostage Exchange, Disarray, and 45 positions. Yeah.
Did you force hostage exchange? Because why would he give a force user hostage exchange?
Because I believe Bombing Run was the first one. And then
you had the Barks.
Yeah, I have the Barks. And then no, actually, I'm sorry. Breakthrough was the first one. So he banned that one. Then I banned Key Positions. And then the next one was Hostage Exchange. And then the last one was Bombing Run. So
he was stuck.
He was stuck.
That's rough.
So
that's terrible. You're a bad person.
Yeah. I didn't try to take the bid. I just happened to get the bid. So pretty much how this game went was looking at the table from my side, I put everything in a bubble on the left side. And then on the very top right side, I put my 3 barks. I was hoping to get some flank. He puts the AA5, Black Suns in the AA5, and Bosk on his bottom right. And then on the top left, he puts everything else.
You want to go through what your list is real quick?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've talked about that.
So I'm running Obi-Wan with Force Barrier, Force Push, Vigilance, and Offensive Stance. Clone Commander, naked. 4 phases ones, 1 with 5s, 3 with the Z6, and then 2 of those with the medic, and then 3 Bark Soldiers. And I'm also paying for, in this tournament, you can take an upgrade called High Profiling Target, and it's only for Republic because Republics don't have Bounty Hunter. And essentially what happens is it's 10 points. If they get a bounty on them, if they are alive at the end of the game and they still have the bounty token, they get to keep it. And it adds +2. It doesn't count for victory win, but it counts for victory points in the tournament for top 4.
Like the tiebreakers.
Essentially, yeah.
Your list is so stupid.
I guess pretty much I have no shame because it's really easy just to, you bounty me, I'm just gonna run away. That's 2 points to get the top 4, so no shame here. But yeah. So that's what happened is those were the deployments. Turn 1, I play air support. He plays Cat Bane's tokens. So he puts 1 right in between me and the hostages, his hostage and my hostage. He puts 1 way over by my top right deployment. And then he puts another 1 on top of a rock. I was like, all right, I'm guessing you put the bomb over by my deployment. You put Cat Bane on the rock, and then it was nothing with the hostage. And, you know, I was trying to let him know, like, hey, if that is the bomb or the hostage, it's not going to do anything this turn. And he was like joking around, maybe it's Cat, maybe it's not. So pretty much the tokens were, as I thought, nothing by the hostages, bomb, which never went off in the game because of Bark Speeders, and then Cat Bane. So
did he not know that the Barks are not going to get affected by the bomb?
Well, in this case, they do, because all the Cat Bane tokens say is when enemy unit is in range 1 of it. It doesn't care if it's a repulsor vehicle.
But it's easy to avoid them with speeders.
Yeah. So what happened is I play air support. I take shots at his pikes, and you know, pikes do good. Pikes do, they save everything. I get nothing through dodges, cover. You know, I think I get 1 wound on his capo, the commander. And then he played. Oh, he had to play the 3-pip Cat Banes. So I decided I'm gonna pop the tokens. So I move my hostage exchange guy. I pop 1. It was the 1 in the middle. It was nothing. And then instead of retreating further to my deployment zone, I was just like, okay, I know where Cat's at now. So I moved again towards the rock, which is closer towards his top right deployment. And I cohesion in a way that would get me in range 1 of the enemy deployment, or I'm sorry, the Cat Bane token. And it popped him and out couldn't Cat Bane. Toby's
fire!
Toby's like hella nervous because he has a good position to cap my clone commander. But if he does that, everything's gonna fire into Cad. And so he decides to, on the rock that he's placed, there's like a good line of sight blocking. So he decides to just hide him there, not do anything this turn. And the way it's positioned in the rock format, when he moved his hostage exchange, he put him behind a bunch of barricades that for a fortified position. And Cad's like, everybody's just right next to it. So pretty much I have to kill his hostage guys before they get behind that rock, or I just don't get the hostage ever. And so that pretty much, that's all it was set up. However, I get my Bark Speeders. My Bark Speeders have to take a compulsory move. I go closer to the bus with the compulsory move, and I shoot at the bus. I get 1 through, and I do 1 wound. And he decided he's going to take his Black Suns and blow up the Bark Speeder, and that's what he does. Moves the AA5, Black Suns come out, they just delete a Bark Speeder. So now I'm already 9x, I'm 8 now, and he's at 10x. So I'm nervous. I'm just like, because he's gonna want to delete another bark. Turn 2, he plays ploy, and he puts an operative token on it. And then I play Obi-Wan's 3-pip with the surges. I give 5 surges to the hostage, 5 to Obi, and then 5 to the clone commander. So he goes, and instead of moving his hostage, he pulls 4. He wants to go with the Black Sun. He deletes another bark. So now I'm 7-10. And then I pull from the bag, and it was easy to pull because I had 2 barks in there and only 1 core. And he just deleted a bark. So I'm down to 1 bark. I pull the bark, and I fire support into his hostage, and I kill everybody but 2 guys left. This was where I feel like he could have got the upper hand. Is he
You were
could
down
have?
2 again.
I'm still down, yeah. But
plus the fire support, now you're down even more.
I'm down even more. But he decides not to go with the core. I think he pulled a core. No, you know what? He actually goes with Bosk. So Bosk steps out and he shoots at my clone commander and gets 1 wound on him. So now I'm nervous. I'm like, ooh, because Bosk has good range. Which is interesting because I still think that was a smart move for him, but I think it could have been a move he could have waited on. And I think he should have moved his hostage first, because the next turn I move my hostage, and then I move him onto a rock that was next to my deployment zone, but it wasn't in deployment zone, but not far from it. And then I fire support with 5s into the hostage, and sure enough, lit them up, and they're gone.
Gosh, so good with dice pulls, dude.
It really is.
It's nice, right?
It's so nice. The fire support is so he knows, like, he's got to pick that guy up. So pretty much he's moving, he's trying to shoot up that last bark, because now he knows that I'm using the surge to hit for fire supporting. And then Cad decides to pop out, but it's not in range of anything. And he pops out to next to the hostage guy. And then he also sends another squad next to the hostage guy. The rest of my guys are pretty much just trying to lay down suppression so that he can't claim and move. And then that was pretty much round 2. Round 3, I play Obi's 2-pip, which gives him the dodges.
Not in
So,
defense.
yeah. And also on the turn 2, anything that Toby shot at that wasn't bark speeders, Obi was just barrier, defending, all that good stuff. So come turn 2 or turn 3, he plays he plays Cad Bane's 1-pip. And here comes the mistake, the big mistake that kind of swing the game in my favor. So he decides to go with Cad. I thought it was interesting he played the 1-pip, but he told me he wanted to go with Cad right away and take the hostage and run, because he is a speed 2 away from jumping behind line of sight blocking, but not speed 1 away. And so he goes to claim the hostage.
He forgot the speed down.
And then he goes to move with the speed 2.
Oh, no.
And I tell him, I go, when you get the hostage, you speed down. And he was just like, oh, man. And he wanted to take it back, but I was like, hey, you played it. But I was joking, though. I was joking, but I had made a mistake earlier. It wasn't really a mistake. I pulled a bark out of my bag, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to go with the bark. I was like, oh, I could pass. And then he goes, but you pulled it out of the bag.
Yeah, you pulled it.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I got to go with the bark. So I go with the bark. So he felt bad about that. And he was just like, I'm just going to, I said I would claim, so I claimed it. So he decides to move towards the top right of my deployment zone. So that way he's further away from Obi-Wan, because, Obi-Wan doing force twos and things. At this point,
he's just trying to wiggle and survive.
At this point, he's tilted because he gave Cat Bane the order token. He ain't got his dodges. So I go to my bag, I pull a bark, my only bark, I move and aim, and I shoot at Cad behind heavy cover, fire supported it deletes Cad.
Yep.
That's gone. So pretty much Bosk is trying to do some shots. I spend one of the medics to heal my clone commander. Obi takes a wound, and then everything else is kind of like fire supporting. My hostage moves back into deployment zone, and he's trying to get guys to pick up the hostage, and he managed to get in with one squad and claim it. And then by this turn, I have Obi-Wan, and he has one more guy to go with. Obi-Wan doubles moves and force pushes the naked squad into me. And then he attacks Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's got a bunch of dodges. Obi-Wan spins a dodge, and he gets 3 hits through. I dodge one, and then I roll 2 surges.
Oh, that feels bad.
Jared's like, yes, this is what I remember feeling
Oh,
like.
it felt so good, so good, and then it even felt even better because it was Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan kills in melee.
Mhm.
Toby didn't know that that Obi-Wan could do that. I was like, yep, the Jedi's Obi-Wan could do that with the sword.
Source is stupid.
Yeah. So then turn 4, I forget what cards we played. I'm pretty sure. Oh, I think I played Synchronized Offense, or the one where you give to a vehicle.
Synchronized Offensive.
Yeah. He deleted my bark last turn. He decided that was the top priority, which I don't disagree with him. But I played it to try to get Obi, or to get that hostage before it runs away. So I play. No, I'm sorry. No, that was the following turn. This turn I play Obi-Wan's Hello There, 1 pip. And sure enough, Obi-Wan takes a standby and aim and 2 dodges. And then he grabs the hostage. He moves 1 away. His bus, his AA5, previous turns came towards to fire at my guys. I think he's trying to get the clone commander, and I realized that because his bus has the frenzy gunner and the quad laser. I decided the clone commander has done his duty directing to 5s and everything and get the hell out of Dodge. So he just double moves towards the end of the map so that way he can't get that bounty. So then Obi-Wan spins the standbys, kill the guys in there. I spin the standby as soon as he double moves with the hostage. And then after I spin the standby, I immediately kill the guys. I double move towards the guys. I kill them. And then Obi-Wan's just sitting there, opened up to 1 full squad of pikes with the disruptor soldier. So he aims and shoots, but I spin the dodge and I block everything. I think I rolled 1 surge and killed 1 guy. Here's where it panned out for my favorite, him killing the Barks early game. It was a bittersweet him killing the Barks because he sent his Black Suns to deal with that. Well, his Black Suns only shoot at range 2. So now that they're done with the Barks, they got to trug along to get in any range to kill anything. So he moves twice to try to shoot Obi, but he couldn't do it that turn. Then the next turn, I play the synchronized one, and my clone commander is out of there. I get Obi. All Obi does is he moves. He force pushes his capo into me, and I just stand by. And I'm not even going to use the standby to attack. All I was going to do is if he withdrew, I was just gonna move back into him so that way he doesn't stop me from getting 2 points from my bounty. And that's pretty much game after that. So it was a fun game. I was sweating it in the beginning. The Barks, he got good kills on the Barks, deleted them twice, and I was down 7 to 10.
They're cheap points though. It was worthless, dude.
Jordan could need to be that.
56.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's 55, right?
55.
Is it 55?
55,
Oh man,
yeah, 55.
they're so cheap.
They're so cheap.
I hate. Yeah.
So yeah, so it got me 3 points for winning, 1 point for playing at the shop, and then 4 points for the bounties. I'm sitting at happy 8 right now.
Yeah, those bounties are too
Yeah.
easy to get. It's too easy to not die.
It is. It is. I
Because
agree.
bounty hunters have
Until
to
he
not
gets hit with
die
the
and
lats.
kill somebody. That's a
Yeah.
lot harder.
It is a lot harder. It is a lot harder. And he was trying with Bosk. I did end up killing Bosk. Because as soon as I sent my clone commander the other way, everything just Obi-Wan could deal with all that mess. So all the guys went back, shot at Bosk, and eventually killed him. Yeah. So super fun game, but I think Toby kind of was tilted and just didn't want to play as soon as he realized he made a mistake by grabbing the hostage and realized he speed down.
Yeah, well, it's rough, especially because that's a lot of why I don't like CAD and Shadow Collective, because he can't pass his order to anybody, and so he's stuck on that pivotal 1 pip turn, right? Because you need to use that aggressively.
Yeah.
But then if you use it aggressively and you don't have your 2 dodges, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
But you could always put up close on him, and you can get your 2 dodges that way. You can fire
It's
twice.
just expensive.
And like I
It's
said,
8 points
I
for your
think
two dodges.
That's a lot of
for the one,
points.
but it's the one time you actually need the dodges on that one pip, and you can't trade out your orders. That's the 8 points you have to pay to do it.
Yeah, but you're also usually, at least I don't know how Toby's building his, but I use both of my slots for defensive tech for Cat already.
yeah, he
So
had
that
the
means you're
full,
losing other defensive tech.
yeah, he had the full like duck and cover and everything. Comms relay, which I agree. I don't think Cat should be in Shadow Collective. I mean, it's he's
Why
fine.
does he have comms relay if he can't hand off the order?
You
He
can pass it to
can.
Bosk.
Yeah, he could pass it to Bosk, or he could pass it to his other guys to get his 2 dodges. But in
He
this
can't
game,
pass it to the other guys.
No.
ooh, you're right.
They
You're
can't receive
right.
orders because he's a different type. He's a rogue or whatever.
Yeah, there's no point in him having comms relay at all. Why would you pass to Bosk when Bosk had? I don't know.
It's good to pass it to
there's
Bosk because Bosk doesn't really care about his surge tokens, and your 2 dodges are a really big deal.
yeah, but how often are you gonna have them together? You're gonna
Not
split
very
them out
often.
most of the time. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
No, it's
Yeah,
probably not
Might
worth
have-
the points.
Yeah, that might have been my fault. I
you
think I
can get
told
up close and personal.
I think I told him to take comms relay because I was like, you can just pass the order.
Not in that army.
You
That's why that
set
army
him
is
up,
bad with
dude.
Cad.
JR set him up and he paid Roman to dodge me, and then JR paid Roman to play him.
I
So
love
he was equally
Cad.
screwed.
I love Cad, but Cad really only works in CIS.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think he works in Shadow Collective, and I don't think he works very well in Empire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the best bounty hunter list is still your CIS one, Daniel.
I appreciate that.
So yeah, it's yeah, it was brutal. But that was our
Stop it!
game.
He's already down.
He's ready to play you, that's for sure. He's ready to round
Oh,
two.
he's gonna lose. I'm gonna set him on a one-way ticket to his next participation trophy.
So for the rest of the league, what's called Omar and Michael played. Omar won that one. And then Chris and John Rambo, aka Roman, they played their game. Chris is obviously Roman is a buy, so Chris won that game. I know he didn't get any bounties that game, so I don't know the score of Michaels and Omar. The only two left to play are both Johns, and I believe they're playing this Wednesday.
That's what I heard. I'm supposed to get his box of guys ready. I need to do that after this.
So yeah, so pretty fun game for me. Let's see here. All right, guys, let's move on to the strat segment. This segment is going to be about different lists that you can build and different how you want to run them and play, because not all lists are equal play style, and you don't necessarily want to run a melee list when you're trying to do gunline objectives. Let's start off with Daniel. What you got for us, man?
Sure. So the archetype that I wanted to look at, because this is an archetype that I really like, is Hero Hammer. So with a Hero Hammer archetype, you're going to go with like a lot of heroes. I feel like honestly, I think CIS is probably best at this because they can get their reverse order control by giving order control to all of the core units, and you can have your heroes like Count Dooku and Cad Bane and Bosk all just kind of floating. And you can have them in your bag and it's not a big deal. But the other faction that I'm trying to play around with that I think also does this fairly well is Rebels. So I'm going to go through a Rebel list that I was thinking about using actually for this tournament, and it's a bit of an example of a Hero Hammer list. So Commander, I've got Lando Calrissian. I like Lando for Hero Hammer lists because he's got contingencies. Because one of the big problems when you're running a lot of heroes is you're not able to take all their command cards, and that's a huge amount of what you're paying for with the hero's points. Lando lets you work around that a little bit by giving you the flexibility of taking 3 extra command cards. So I like taking him as a commander. Also, because he has, I always forget he has this, but because he has covert ops, you can switch him to an operative, which means that you could have 3 operatives, and so your order control is actually quite a bit better.
He can infiltrate?
He can infiltrate.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So no,
Well, new
Yeah.
infiltrate rules though. He has to have a backup commander, which is
Yeah.
not a problem in Hero Hammer.
Right. So the backup commander that I've got in this one, and it's not an exciting backup commander, is just a Pike Syndicate Capo. So I've just got a generic Capo that's going to take over for Lando when Lando goes and does covert ops. For operatives, I've got Luke Skywalker with force pushing into the fray. This operative Luke is just probably the best operative in the game. except for maybe Operative Vader, which makes sense. They're very iconic characters.
And Maul, don't leave my guy hanging.
He's not the best operative in the game. He doesn't compete with those
He's
two.
just the
Oh,
most
no, man.
annoying operative in the
He's
game.
so good at everything.
Big difference.
He might be the best commander in the game once he gets the dark saber, but he's not the best operative in the game.
I mean, I won LVO with him.
That's true. That's true.
Because they weren't ready for you. You
That
know
was
LVO
also
this year.
Before Operative Vader was good. The other
They had to
operative we've
figure it out
got
this year.
is Din Djarin. So we've got him with tenacity, jetpack, and his Ambam rifle. I really like taking the Ambam rifle. Nick actually convinced me of this, that you need to take the Ambam rifle with Din because then you pass out those immobilized tokens when you get into melee. And so because with this kind of list you don't have very much order control, if you don't stop the people from withdrawing that he's in melee with, then he'll just get shot. So I take the
Really?
Ambam rifle for that reason. Nick's convinced me. He's beat me
Yeah,
enough
he-
with Mando that I'm like, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing.
He used it against me, and I was like cemented in place.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on Beskar Spear only because I'm heavy on Force user play. You guys know that.
Yeah.
So like the ambient rifle versus a Force user is nothing. Beskar Spear is a whole different story against
Ambam rifle against Beskar, against force users. The one thing you're not thinking about, because you're thinking you can just force push them out,
Mhm.
which is true, but you can't go anywhere. So if you force push me out, you're also standing there. We're both standing
Yeah.
there waiting to get shot. I'm okay if you want to shoot Mando and I shoot your force user.
I just like the whole because he gets an aim and a dodge for not getting orders. So that's aim for Pierce, dodge for immune to Pierce.
Oh, it's so good. No,
Yeah.
I love the spear and I always
Yeah.
want to take it. But
Mhm.
man, after talking with Nick, I've been really convinced that this is the way to go.
Oh.
I'll probably try, and like Mando's the character I want to play around with next, so I'll probably
He's
try
so
some versions of
fun.
him with the spear. But for now, I feel like I have to do the rifle. I just see the logic behind it. It just makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
So to fill this out, so those are really your bigger threats is Din and Luke, because those two are very expensive. So that's your real threats. To fill out the list, we've got 2 rebel troopers to fill the core requirement, a fleet trooper, and then 2 pikes to get capos with disruptors and foot soldiers. So you've got a little bit. I mean, you sunk a lot of points. You sink a lot of points in this list into your heroes. So you're kind of just a little something to support them. That's probably just going to sit in the back and try to support.
How many axes?
So this comes in at 9 acts. So it's lower than I would want it to be. Probably, I mean, you can slim down the core a little bit and add another one. That's probably what I would do. This is just a prototype list that I was working with. Actually, yeah, I think probably what I'd end up doing is putting in what I had originally is I had a strike team. So I had a strike team to fill out acts. The problem with that is you don't have any special forces in this list until you add the strike team. So that continues to hurt your order control. So I don't know. Probably I would strip some of I don't know. I don't want to see. This is why I landed on this prototype because everything I want to change. I don't know.
You got to give it a test drive to see,
Yeah. So some of the strength of this list is that you do have a couple different threats with Luke and Din. If one of them gets killed, your game isn't over. You can still play with the other one. The weakness is that this does kind of lean towards a melee skew, right? Because Din and Luke both want to be in the other army. And so that has the same dangers as like the list that you're going to talk about, JR, where if you can't cross, if you come across the gun line and it's really difficult to get across to their gun line, you're probably going to lose. There's no 2 ways about it. You got to get there or else you're not going to deal the damage, because like the pikes, they're not going to be able to go toe to toe with a real gun line.
Oh no. How would you play Lando in that?
So probably with Lando, what I would do is I'd infiltrate him. So I have the 3 operative tokens, because that lets me control Din and Luke better without having to rely on the command cards. Really, I'd probably just keep him somewhat. There'd be Din and Luke in the front trying to get into the army. Then there'd be Lando and maybe the fleet troopers kind of in a middle ground. Because he can infiltrate, I'd put him behind line of sight blockers. He really just wants to kind of poke out and get shots. Because he's got a sharpshooter. I mean, try to find some high value targets.
Sharpshooter
and just
too.
blow
Yeah,
them away.
he's a closer. He's a cleaner. He can take those 2 models and put them in the dirt.
I actually really like him with Mando, because Mando is really good at thinning out things. So because he does he hits in melee, and then he can also use Arsenal to shoot out. And so he'll pierce off a couple guys from each unit, and then Lando can come in and close it. It's like boom. Now that's dead activation, another dead activation, another dead activation.
That's how they use Han.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could see Han being really good at that too.
I was gonna say I really love that you have Lando. I think Lando is underestimated, and I think he has potential to be in some gnarly lists, especially his what's that 2-pip that you can just pull out the contingency?
So good. Yeah. The ace up his sleeve.
Ace up his sleeve, yeah.
That's probably like for sure. That's in this list, that's for sure his best card, because either he can use it in a pinch if you really need to get Luke or him to activate. Or actually, I guess it even works with Din.
Yeah.
Or no, it doesn't work with Din because you can't issue an
Din's a
order to
bounty
Din.
hunter.
Yeah.
You know what? This whole I'm still boggled by this.
He blew his mind right there.
Because it's so frustrating. Like, yeah.
But
They
even
didn't
just
need to
issuing the
give-
orders, that's his card that gives a standby. So you could make Luke attack twice on 2 different turns. Once with his Son of Skywalker, once with Lando's 2-pip. That's crazy. That's a
Yeah.
lot of firepower.
And what I love about him too is that if Luke and Din are already buried or almost buried, you could play Lando's 1-pip, and then that 1-pip is just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in your opinion, Daniel, do you think Rebels is the best faction to build hero hammers?
I think CIS is. I think CIS is just because you can do the reverse order control. Being able, when you're relying on heroes like this, you want to be able to control when they go. It's really important. So I think CIS is probably best for hero hammer. I think when Ventress comes out, you could have some really good Dooku Ventress hero hammer. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, right on. What do you take for your battle deck?
So for my battle deck, I've got Breakthrough, Recover the Supplies, Key Positions, and Intercept the Transmission. The idea behind these for Breakthrough, I have a lot of fast stuff, and I want to be inside of your army. So if Luke and Mando get to your army, then you're going to be stuck there fighting them, and hopefully turn 4 or 5 will roll around, and you'll realize you can't get into my deployment. And Luke and Mando will already be there.
Yeah.
Recover the Supplies. Luke and Mando are fast and efficient at bringing stuff back. Key Positions. Force users are just really good at key positions. Intercept the Transmission. I want you to have to come to me. So that's the idea behind Breakthrough and Intercept. Breakthrough is if you don't come to me, you won't score. Intercept is kind of the same thing. If you meet me halfway, then Luke and Mando will be in your lines.
What do you take for deployments?
I've got Danger Close, just to make that a fast approach. Disarray, because Mando can basically operate independent. Hemmed In, again, just to get close. And then Battle Lines. I really like the wide deployment.
Yeah. And then what about your conditions?
I've got Limited Visibility, again, for the approach. Rapid Reinforcements, Clear Conditions, and Supply Drop.
We're going to rapid.
If I was rapid, I'd rapid in Fleet Troopers.
Oh, that makes sense. Sense.
Yeah.
And how about your command cards?
So command cards, I think for Mando, you have to take his 1 and 2-pip. I think those are his best cards. So I've got Mando's 1 and 2-pip as cards, Luke's Son of Skywalker, and then his My Ally is the Force, Return of the Jedi, and I Am a Jedi. So both his 3-pips. The only one I'm missing from Luke is his You Serve Your Master Well, and the Full of Surprises. Probably I go back and forth between My Ally is the Force and Full of Surprises. I feel like with this list, I like My Ally is the Force because I can give that other order to Lando, and they'll both start with dodges, which is nice.
Do you put all Lando's cards in the contingency?
I've got Lando's 1, 2, 3 in contingency.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. That sounds like a fun list to play, and not a fun list to go against. That's for sure. What do you got for us, Jose?
All right, so I am the senior clone player here. I'm also the senior gunline player who's dove into force powers. So before I did that, this was what I used to do. I'm a fan of with clones, I'm a fan of non-hero centric, as much bang for your buck as you can get clone type lists. So this was a list that I played for about a year. I was actually considering taking it to LVO, and then the amount of force users I knew that were going to be there, I had to just drop and go to Anakin just as like a safety blanket. there's just too many tricks and things that can go that can happen with force powers to rely on a straight non-hero gunfight list. But this list, I think, has the legs when it comes to being just super defensible. This is your typical clone ball. When they got hit with the nerf to sharing tokens, I was trying to figure out a way to maximize it in other ways within the rule sets. This was also prior to the new CRB and all that stuff. So what I got is I call this list surgical, emphasis on surge. So what it is, it's a 10-act list. It's a clone commander with commanding presence, a clone commander with aggressive tactics, a phase 2 clone trooper unit with fives and prepared supplies, 3 Z6 phase 2s with the extra trooper and prepared supplies, a naked phase 2 clone trooper, a arc echo strike team, and 2 standard arc strike teams. So a lot of people don't see it off the beginning, but where this list shines is in straight defensive tech and roll them when you got them. I like the slot machine, so this emphasizes that playstyle a lot. So what you end up doing is through this list, you have 5 phase 2s that generate reliable 1. You then have 1 clone commander, which is going to be your main clone commander that's always issuing the orders. So he throws out another 4 surge tokens, getting my total up to 9. On top of that, the second clone commander, his only job is to be able to direct at long distance with commanding presence. But both of them have the innate ability to actually spend one of their actions to bolster, which gives me another 4 surge tokens. So basically, the way you do this list is the clone commanders are there just to bolster for those extra 4 surge tokens, and basically rely on that up save because when the core start taking shots, they're gonna have up at least 2 to 3 surge tokens in reserve, which bumps your defense up to not fully, but while they have the surge tokens, 66 percentile range per die. Then they're backed up with the extra body, which also doubles as an extra attack die. And they are all backed by the prepared supplies for even more just you got to chew through this now too. The naked clone trooper is just there to provide support, move, dodge, move, aim. Preferably move aim because you're gonna have the backside being brought up by the strikes. So you have this range 3 bubble, defensive bubble that is in your face. But coming right behind it, you got 3 art strike teams storming through that are extending that bubble range to 5. So while you're trying to pin down and take minis off of these units that are just rock solid behind cover, prepared supplies, dodges, you're also getting picked at by the strikes behind those troopers as well. The gimmick I like behind this is uh orders. I spit out orders, and the amount of orders I can get out is actually pretty high for even their low pips. So when we're getting into the list, they have the 2 clone commanders both have direct. So one of them can direct at 2, the other one can direct at 4. And then through either of those directs, you can direct 5s who's going to give out a free token. So right off the bat, with no orders being handed out at all, I have 3 tokens on the board. So I have the order on 5s, who then coordinates it to another trooper, and I have just a regular order thrown out. So every round, before I even start throwing cards out, I got 3 tokens on the board. When you get into my command hand, I have Attack of the Clones for since they're phase 2s, they don't care about the suppression. So that's another round of more surge tokens, just raining the surge tokens in. My second would be Assault. My first 2 pip is Airstrike. My second 2-pip is push, and then my last 1-pips are synchronized offensive and ambush. So the reason I have synchronized offensive, other than the fact that I have to take it because there's no other generic, there's really not a downfall to synchronized offensive because I'm going to play it as a standard 1-pip and I'm just going to have my direct orders ready to go. So on my 2-pip cards, on my 2 1-pip cards, I will have 3 orders. On my airstrike card, I will have 4 orders. And then on push, I'll have 5 orders, right? Two direct and coordinate. Yeah, 5 orders. And then on my 3-pips, I'll have like 5 or 6 orders. So it's plenty of fire support power, plenty of order control. I could spit out all my troopers out at once, leave my commanders in the bag. I could spit out my arcs and leave, 3 core on the field. It's just a lot of flexibility when it comes to the order control because of those directs. When I go with my card selection, it's very, very simple. Intercept, key positions, payload, and sabotage. Key position, intercept, and sabotage are kind of where I'd want to stay because I don't really want to have to move. As anybody who plays clones knows, when you move, things get kind of squirrely. But payload is there as a fallback. Once again, one of those game types that with the new rules, people don't want to play payload. So having payload in my deck is a free flip, and I don't mind paying payload. Payload, I like payload in the world we're in right now, where you have to actually move with a purpose. My deployment
wait.
cards are
You said intercept, key positions,
payload and sabotage
So why not breakthrough?
because I don't want the ball to move.
There's a lot of movement for clones.
Yeah, because I know what you're gonna say. Like you could just set up and wait, but the thing is depending on how the game state is. Like I'd rather not worry about advancing the score because I've played clones long enough to know that if you're not gonna kill everything,
Right,
and
something will squeeze through.
all it takes is one Boba Fett, one burst of speed force user to just dive in. So instead of giving them an opportunity to get that 1 point, I rather just play objectives where I can sit.
I got you.
And like I said, payload, people don't like payload because you can wall yourself off if you're not smart with it. But I like payload because it's like I said. I mean, people's thing with payload is I don't want to get beat because my payload can't go through a wall. Well, you can do the same thing to your opponent. Like, then it just becomes a kill point game. But either way, payload. If I have to move, I'd rather play payload because it's one central moving point. It's not breakthrough where I got to try to fan out and compensate for this deployment. Payload, I just move with the payload, follow my payload, let's go. And if our payloads happen to crash, well, guess what? You got a bunch of extra body clones with prepared supplies, surges up the butt. Like it's going to be a nightmare.
It's
Huh?
I was gonna say it's fascinating on hearing your take about breakthrough, only because of where clones used to be and then the meta shifting. Because I know a lot of clone players like to take breakthrough because like you got to come to me, and if you're dead, you're not scoring points. But you're right, there's a lot more things that can move faster. So now you kind of don't want to rely on killing things.
Well, breakthrough wasn't an issue back then because they were stacking aims turn 0.
Right.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter because back in the Rec Star days and even Arc Star days, it didn't matter if you had 12x, 11x, 10x. My clones are going to start off with 5 aims, and that's not including the other shenanigans like standby sharing. By the time they got like clones would delete on average probably like 1 to 2 units a turn, just off of those arc aim shots, off of fire support. I used to do it, double fire support with like 4 aim tokens. Pretty good. I'm killing everything. And so at that point, breakthrough didn't matter because you're down on axe. The clones could move freely, and you had to make up ground, and you were just going to keep getting caught in the standby traps. So it's not a problem when you can delete things like that. But the new, I personally think the way you play clones now is more purposeful than just all outright firepower. Clones have the firepower if you can use it. If I'm up on axe, I'm gonna fire support just to start hammering down. But you don't just do these fire support plays off the turn one, your first shot because you're gonna pay for it later down the road. Clones now have to you have to play them more chess style where everything matters. Your points of entry matter, your objective play matters more than ever because of the new world that they're in.
Would
So
you
when we get into good.
no, I was just gonna say ask you about your deployment and your conditions.
Yeah. So my deployment is major offensive, long march, advanced positions, and rollout. So the reason I put rollout in there is because I don't want any weird deployments with clones. I like that if you look at all my deployments, it's left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right. So major offensive, it's at left corner, right corner, long march, left side, right side, advanced positions, left L, right L, and then roll out left side, right side. Um, with this list being so defense, so much fallback on surge tokens. Because the cool thing is, if I don't spend them on defense, which is where I primarily want to spend them, I'm gonna spend them on offense, and that's gonna hurt way more. So when it comes to rollout, I don't I'm not worried too much about the buses and vehicles coming through because I feel like I have the backloaded defense to handle it. I'd rather take that chance than have like a funky position like hemmed in or disarray with this type of list. Disarray, if I'm playing an opponent, he has blue, he takes disarray. This list is gonna go out the window because I'm gonna have to sacrifice my naked phase two because I need everything else together, and that initially puts me down in that.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Oh good.
No, your conditions.
Conditions, I chose clear. Because my list is all courage two, I know we live in a world where courage two isn't enough. I still feel like it's enough. I chose to go with hostile environment. My clones aren't stuck to the terrain like your courage one units are.
Mhm.
You can have the cover, you can panic, all that stuff. My clones are just gonna keep marching forward. If I roll the suppression up, I'll worry about the suppression when I get to three.
Yeah.
Because I got a four suppression window before anything on my board panics. And I can live with one act just or one active one I could live with one not activation, one action
Mhm.
better than anybody else because it's clones. Oh, my clone unit can't go, cool, I'm just gonna take a dodge. My clone unit can't only has one action, I'll just take an aim. It hurts them less when because of the token sharing. You just use that guy as a battery. Um, my next one is fortify positions, keeping the defensive tech going. Now I got barricades. I like advanced positions because not only do you get extra barricades, but you can use them in a gamey situation where you can put two barricades to a point where somebody can't climb over because they can't be on top of the barricades, they can't fit in the middle, but they're in an angle. You can wall stuff off, or like what I've done before in payload games is I put all my barricades in a line, so the troopers have to just go speed two to go through,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, cool, that you wasted your time doing that. And then because I'm a maniac and I feel like it has to be in on my decks, supply
Supply
drop.
drop.
If I get those backups, it's worked for you.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like playing supply drop too. Just don't think you take it to a big tournament. That's my
I
opinion.
did, and I did not regret it at all.
So, in your opinion, do you feel that Gar is the best faction to make a gunline list?
I think they're up there. I think they're up there. They have a lot of raw firepower when it comes to fire support plays,
Mhm.
but they're just not they're not at a spot where they can impact it to where I would say they would be the best. Like for me, I think Empire is gunline ready. Guard doesn't have a Veers. Guard doesn't have a Krennic that can manipulate handouts, handout aims, handout standbys. And we don't have a lot of good special forces. Like our arcs are okay. And that's
Tell
just
us
that they
Dash.
went they're okay. Yeah. No, Dash is a god, so screw Dash. He's what every guard player should want to play like, because that dude is a madman. But no, I feel like for Gunline, it's Empire. I mean, you got units like the Shores, target one. You know, you could do a offensive push with them, and you can do their critical gun. You got the T-21 specialist setup that Roman likes using. I like using it. You got so much other thing, like you got Death Troopers taking fire supports from shore mortars. Like, Gunline is always going to be Empire. I don't care what anybody says. They'll own, like, Guards a close second. In my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we'll move on to my list. My list is very melee centric. I
Shocking.
love melee users, especially force users. But this one's going to be a list without a force user. So it's going to be, my list is called Wookiees. It's 10 apps, it's 793, which used to be a lot more offensive push in this list. Not anymore. So I had to drop a
Thanks,
bunch
AMG.
yeah, it screwed over my list a little bit. But this list has Chewbacca with tenacity, Wookiee Chieftain tenacity, 4 Phase 1 clone troopers, 3 Wookiee warriors with the Battle Shield Wookiee and tenacity, and then 1 Fluttercraft with Bombardier, and then the
Bombardier.
Bombardier, thank you. And Comms Jammer. So this list is essentially, I just want to run in your face and try to kill as many things as possible and give you multiple targets to shoot at.
And now you know how Overrun works.
Yeah, now I know how Overrun works.
Jerk.
I mean, I knew back then, but we won't say that. But yeah, this list is a very, I would say, not highly competitive, but a very fun list to play. It's very terrain dependent. Just like Daniel said, if it's not a lot of line of sight blocking, you're just going to get lit up. You probably won't make it all the way there. But the idea of this list is you just want to run things as much as you can, as close as you can to your opponents. And my battle deck is catered to that. I probably should drop some tenacity. I don't want to, though, because in my opinion, in this list, you want to fight for the bid because you need your battle deck to get close to make this effective. The Wookiee Warriors, Battle Shields, you want to run, armor up. Chieftain, same thing. Chewie's there. Also, his melee is pretty good, but you kind of want a Guardian. And then your Phase 1s are there for objective. Your Fluttercraft is important, and it's in the sense that your Fluttercraft has to get to them, and it's going to get to your enemy side of the board, but you also need to back that up with Wookiee Warriors. I made that mistake playing this list against Nick. I only took the Fluttercraft, and I kind of left my Wookiee Warriors behind. Well, he just shot up the Fluttercraft. Is like, I got nothing else to shoot out. So if you're going to run this list, you definitely want to throw the Fluttercraft and the Wookiee Warriors down there. Give them multiple targets, because if you don't, you're going to get screwed over. I'm taking from my battle hands all the Wookiee cards, and then all the regular generic cards, because Wookiees.
The Wookiee cards are cool, though.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. And
they're so cool.
They're pretty nice. They do a lot of good stuff once you get there. The problem is you got to get there. My battle deck consists of intercept transmission, hostage exchange, payload, and breakthrough. All the objectives that I want my opponent to be moving. And then my deployments are advanced position, disarray, hemmed in, and danger close. Again, those are all deployments where it's closer to my opponent. So I want to get there as fast as I can. My condition, limited viz, fortified position, rapid reinforcement, and minefield. I probably should change out minefield for clear conditions. But yeah, limited viz for getting there because of 2 turns. 45 is Wookiees like heavy cover now. Rapid reinforcement to rapid the Wookiees. Like I said, minefield's in it, but probably should change out the clear conditions.
Well, Wookiees don't care that much about the wounds from minefield compared to other people. It's still not great, I don't think, because you'll probably end up detonating both sets of mines. But it's not horrible.
I agree.
And you have the unit to do it. You have the the agile card. You have the agile card, so you could set it off yourself, and you have the chieftain who can set it off himself.
Yeah, now you guys remind me why I took it. When I saw it, I was like, why am I taking that? It's like, you're right. agile for chieftain, and then they each have 3 wounds or health, so it's like
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal.
It's gonna hurt the opponent more than you. I mean,
If they step forward, if it's a gun like what you're running, Jose, then they might just make you set off all the mines.
Yeah,
And that would be a
that's true.
problem.
So yeah, so I love this list. I love the play style. I love how fun it is. But definitely not a competitive one. However, I do think it's the best. Gar is the best faction to make a melee eccentric list. That's not including a force user. So excluding force users, just straight up melee, I think Gar does it best because of the Wookiees that you can take.
you think so? Because Rebels got the same Wookiees, and
But
they also got
they
K2, they got Jin.
And the
Yeah,
boss.
Those are
but
they
yeah,
got
but they got
No,
Wookiee
they're-
warriors, sure. They don't have the Fluttercraft, and they don't have the chieftain.
yeah, but when we're talking about
The
melee,
chieftain is really good.
The melee centric, like they have Chewie, they have Jin, they have K2 that hit like bricks.
I don't think Jin's good in melee.
I don't think any of those hit as well as the
Whoa!
chieftain.
Yeah, Jin's not good in melee. I think
K2's 4 red.
you think Jin is gonna kick a Wookiee butt?
No, I didn't say it would, but I'm saying you're saying that they're the best.
Like
They're the best.
straight up just a melee, just like the whole point is just melee. Like if you throw in like Jin, she can do other stuff.
The
K2
sneaky
has to-
stuff, yeah.
Same thing. It's just straight up like if we were gonna go melee to melee, like only building a melee list, I think this melee list beats all the other melee lists.
Yeah, but I'm matching it up with the 3 melee Wookiees would be mirrored on the other end with the rebels.
True.
So
Let's
the
say-
Wookiees cancel each other out.
Well, let's
and
say
then-
let's say you take an AA5, you bring the Wookiees to me. That's cool. My Wookiees want to be there too, right? The chieftain is better than what your commander would be, essentially.
Yeah. I think the chieftain's
Yeah.
really where you get the edge.
Yeah. And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the Wookiee cards are only for Gar, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
get the support there. So yeah, so definitely a list to give a try.
Wait, is it just for
They
that?
are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for Gar. I can check right now, actually.
You think we're gonna get a Kashyyyk Battle Force?
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna get all that. Look what they did with the Imperial Remnant Battle Force.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, they've basically got out a full battle force. I mean, this list is basically a battle force. They just need to let you not take the clones.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that would
They
be-
need to do the special forces counts as core like they did in Remnants, and then you can
Yeah.
set.
Mhm. So, yep, there's my list, boys. So I did pull up some rule questions. We're gonna go by these pretty fast so we can wrap this up. We're gonna go over the
more
one that we already know. Jose had mentioned this earlier in the chat.
I didn't put it in Discord. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get yelled at by the teacher.
All right, so this one is if a bounty hunter shoots at somebody with the bounty and they use stim pack, and then the next turn the stim pack comes off and they die, do they get the bounty? The answer is no, they don't get the bounty. I guess they die by the stim pack, which is kind of interesting
Yeah.
because I was
That's a
actually,
reversal of what the decision used to be.
yeah, which is shocking to me because from everything we read about bounty hunters, it seemed like they leaned towards more of the bounty getting it because it was their shot.
That's how it always used to be. Poison always used to count. If you blow up a transport, it used to count. All that. Literally, if the bounty hunter does anything that causes your person to die, it used to give you a bounty. So I guess that's interesting. This is definitely a shift in philosophy.
Yeah, which is
I
interesting
hate it.
because I feel like
Yeah, I
there's
do
a lot of new rules we don't know about that we're still playing the old way, but we won't know until it comes up.
Mm.
Look, all I'm gonna say is that if the stim packs have the wounds on it that the bounty hunter caused, and that's what kills the bounty target, and he doesn't die, then an exploding van should not give the bounty hunter the bounty point either, because the van
Yeah.
exploding gave you that wound.
Yeah, the
Not the
indirect
bounty
wounds
hunter.
should all be treated the same way.
I agree,
Yeah.
I agree. I do agree with the second part of this question is same situation, but the storms then shoot at Han and then it kills Han. Whoever was the bounty does not get the bounty.
Yeah, it's always been like
Yeah,
that.
I agree with that because technically the storms finished them off.
Right.
Okay. Another one that's super simple, but I just figured we'd talk about it. My BART can only see 2 rebel troopers. I shoot and I use fire support with a squad of phase 2s who can see 4 rebel troopers. I do 4 damage and there is no block. Do I kill 2 or 4 troopers?
2.
Wait, can you read the first part again?
Yeah.
So is it just the leader that can only see 2?
So the bark.
Oh, it's a bark.
The bark leader.
And he can only see 2.
Yeah, then he'll only deal 2 damage.
It's only 2.
Yeah.
You guys are wrong. They do 4 troopers.
For real?
No, just kidding. You guys are right.
I was
I
like,
was like,
no.
wow, I've misunderstood everything. I need to reread the rules.
My Legion world is a lie.
You guys are actually correct. And another one I
It wouldn't
thought,
surprise me if they did something stupid like that, though.
right? Another
The
one I
fire support
thought,
unit has line of sight now.
well, it has to have line of sight to fire support.
I know. I just this new rule era is dumb.
Well, here's another new rule. I think we already know the answer to this one, but I thought it'd be important to bring it up because we got new rules, so they might have changed it. Item Secret Droid is standing on a box that's less than silhouette height and perfectly touching the edge of the box. Luke can't reach Iden herself, but can reach base-to-base contact with the box. There's no actual base-to-base contact with the droid because of elevation, but there's silhouette contact. Is that enough to start melee? So Iden teleports, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's
I know
lower
this
than
one,
silhouette.
So, yeah,
Because silhouette touching silhouette is considered contact. So yes.
Yeah, so they didn't change that. You guys are correct. Yes, in your example, Luke Skywalker is in base contact with the enemy mini. The minis are touching who viewed from above. So now the rules change. You're looking at it from above, and as long as the silhouette reaches their silhouette, you know,
Yeah.
it counts. It counts. So, all right, guys, that's all we got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed our listen, and I hope you guys enjoyed the strat segment. We'll catch you guys next time.
Later.